Recording on the computer. All right, hey guys, welcome to our Monday night team Zoom. I as you know, just came back from a leader retreat at Lindsay's, and I'm like, I don't know, that leader retreat, some people call it a high, I don't know, I'm overwhelmed. And I was like, what do I want to talk about tonight? And there was just like, actually, Lisa and Sarah asked me last night at dinner, like, what are you going to talk about? And I was like, well, maybe this and maybe that, maybe this, I don't know, maybe that. Like, there was so much. So today I was like, okay, what is the one thing that kept coming up in conversation, in training? And it was self-esteem. It was worthiness. And I just felt like, so I even checked with a couple of people today. I was like, is that just beating a dead horse? Should I, but then the people I checked in with, we all decided that was a horse worth beating over and over. So beat that dead horse. So first thing I want to start off with, and I printed some stuff so I didn't screw this up, because I actually was pretty surprised about some of the stuff because, I always do a little research before I talk to you guys about stuff. So self-esteem is basically your opinion of you. But even though it's your opinion, it goes all the way back to your childhood of how you formed that opinion about you. And if you think back to your childhood, it's, I had a sister who teased me nonstop about the itty bitty titty committee. So I just grew up thinking I was never going to get boobs. And you guys, I didn't get them until I was like 33. She wasn't wrong. But fatty 2x4. Like, what are the things that you heard as a kid that have stuck, even though you are nowhere near the 4-year-old or the 8-year-old or the 12-year-old that you were? But it's so deeply in there that in moments of stress, pressure, most of us are female on here. I don't see TJ's face, but your hormones flare. Even though you're brilliant and you're educated and you're a grown woman and you have a home and a great job and all these things, you go back to fatty 2x4, right? Like, how many times do you take yourself back like that without even thinking about it? So there's lots of other things that will obviously deal, it could be, maybe you have some trauma as a child. Maybe you have a bad situation in school, like maybe somebody bullies you as a kid. There's just so many things that can add to your opinion of yourself. But here's the great, wonderful, awesome thing about the opinion of yourself. It's yours. So you actually can work on that. And that's what I want to talk about today. Oh, I need to open up the chat too. Sorry. That's what I want to work on today is I want to give you action. Why won't my chat not open? Anyone? There it is. I want to give you some actionable steps that you can take. And there was one that when I started reading it, I was like, no, absolutely not. And then I finished reading it and I was like, oh, yep, that makes sense. So the first thing I want to say, and this is the one that I struggle with, so I'm going to start off with it the most. We talk about the I am statements all the time, right? And I have heard from people on this team. I see faces on the screen that I've had this conversation with. I just feel stupid saying them. I don't feel comfortable saying them. It's so weird. And I mean, every guru I've listened to, you got to say them. The more you say them, you're going to get them. So what I'm about to say to you is counterintuitive to everything that we've been taught, but it made sense. So positive affirmations such as I'm going to be a great success are extremely popular, but they have one critical problem. They tend to make people with low self-esteem feel worse about themselves. Why, you ask? Because our self-esteem is already low. Such declarations are simply too contrary to our existing beliefs. It's like literally you're thinking white and your brain's like, no, black, 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 but you're like, no, white, white. Like, it's so far apart from one another. Ironically, positive affirmations do work on one subset of people, those whose self-esteem is already pretty high. When you already have a good opinion of yourself, when you already feel good about yourself, and then you say something like, I'm going to be a great success, it's a lot easier for you to say it and absorb it. So for affirmations to work when your self-esteem is lagging, you have to tweak them to make them more believable. So the example they gave was, instead of saying, I'm going to be a great success, you would say instead, I'm going to persevere until I succeed. Do you see how different that feels? That is like, when I say I will persevere until I succeed, like, I feel that. I'm up for a challenge. I'm willing to stick it out. I'm all the things. But when I just say I'm a great success, like, what does that mean exactly? So I this alone could be an entire Zoom, but I want you to go back to your list of I ams and just say them out loud. And if they feel weird saying out loud, that's probably trigger red flag number one, that we need to revamp what we're saying. And so how many times have you guys been like, I'm going to be 200K and you're not even 4K yet? And so you're just like, that's just a number on the wall. I write it on my, it's like, that doesn't really mean anything yet, right? Instead of being like, you know what, I am going to be a consistent promoter who does her 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 on the daily until I reach for, well, you're going to do it forever. I can't say until, but you know what I mean? Like you can set more realistic expectations in the direction. Sonia said, I just don't even say them. Is it because they feel so weird? Yeah. So, and that's like, as soon as I read this, I thought of Sandra Delbeck, because she's the one that told me a long time ago. She's like, I struggle so much to say them because they just feel so weird. And also a lot of times too, I know for me, when I started saying affirmations, you know, you would Google them, or you would have listened to someone and you were just taking their affirmations and kind of repeating them. So this is very specific to you. Like, how can you word something that feels natural to you? You know, maybe you're in a really hard time in your life. So instead of being like, I'm happy, I am positive, you could be like, I am doing my best in this given moment. And sometimes that's all anybody can ask of someone, right? So think about that, like really think about your I ams. The other thing that I love that they said is identify what you're competent at and develop it. Because, and we, where's Lindsay? I know Lindsay's in the room somewhere. This is something that Lindsay was really, she was really diligent about at her retreat. You know, a lot of times we'll go to something or get on a Zoom and we talk about what we are challenged with. But we very much focused on our wins and what our strengths were. And you guys, if you can really think about what you're strong at and you can focus on it and develop it and expand on it, how do you think you're going to feel about yourself? Right? So even something like obviously in your business, like let's say you're amazing at going lives, do them all the time. Then get better and better and better. Like just keep practicing something you're really good at. If you're a cook, have dinner parties. If you're like me, I love to garden and do flowers. I should probably give away flowers to people, right? Like something that you're really good at, like develop it and spend time in it, because when you spend time with yourself doing something you're really good at, your self-esteem is going to rise. Now, I'm not saying you got to, you know, never get into the hard stuff, but it's okay to spend time developing what you are good at so you can enjoy the time. So you can still have challenge in your life, but when you, like for me, if I spent all day in the garden, I made this amazing bouquet and I gave it away to somebody, I'm going to feel like amazing. So then when I go to work on the things I'm challenged at, I'm already in a better mind space. I'm already much more like, okay, I did all of that. I can do this. I can figure this out. Versus if I've just berated myself all day about something that I'm not a good cook. I'd be like, well, I didn't make dinner and we ate blah, blah, blah. Like, then I try to do a challenge. I'm already going to be in a really bad mind space. So find something that you're really good at, and work to accentuate them, make them better. So Courtney is on here. Courtney is amazing with people face to face. Amazing. She's also very, very good, obviously, at reels and social media. But like there are days where I'm like, Courtney just needs to get off Facebook and just walk out the door. Just walk down the street, woman. Just start talking to people, right? Like find what you're good at and develop it. If you're really good at social media, then develop it and get better and better. But don't lose track of also getting to what challenges you. Here's one that is going to be so hard for every single one of you. So back when I said maybe somebody has said something to you that's mean, or they bullied you, or they hurt your feelings, and you remembered it and you took it to heart, right? Like we've all been there. We take that shit to heart. What happens when someone says, you are beautiful? My God, you are so creative. I want to be like you when I grow up. You're like, whatever. I'm this, I'm that. You know, oh, you're beautiful. Oh, I've got a zit today. Oh, you're a great cook. Well, I burnt the toast. Why don't we believe people when they give us a compliment? Why don't we take the compliment to heart, to the gut, to the brain, like we do the negative? Why don't we, like if we're so open for the negative, we need to also be so open for the positive. You have got to learn to take a compliment. I'm going to read this one because I suck at this, so I'm going to let someone else teach us. One of the trickiest aspects of improving self-esteem is that when we feel bad about ourselves, we tend to be more resistant to compliments, even though that is when we most need them. So set yourself a goal to tolerate compliments when you receive them, even if they make you uncomfortable, and they will. The best way to avoid the reflex reaction of batting away the compliment is to simply prepare set responses and train yourself to use them automatically, such as, thank you, how kind of you to say. In time, your impulse to deny or rebuff the compliment will start to fade. And I've noticed that, like, you can say something so nice to somebody and it's almost like they turn you down, right? Like you're genuinely trying to tell somebody something great. And they're like, no. And you're like, no, but I really mean it. And it's like this whole pissing match of, no, you don't. Yeah, I did it. Like, what, and then I'm like, well, okay, I changed my mind. I don't mean it anymore. Right. Versus just, gosh, you're so pretty. Thank you. I love that dress on you. Thank you. I love the live that you did. Thank you. What's the first thing you do when somebody says your live was great? Oh, I thought I talked too much. I rambled. I messed up this one part. I was going to say this, but I didn't say that. What about thank you? I'm getting better at them every day. The more I do them, the more I practice at getting better. So if you want to build your self-esteem, and I cannot tell you how important it is to build your self-esteem, if you want to have the most amazing life in all aspects possible, you got to learn to start saying thank you. And just let it, and it is awkward. It's uncomfortable at times, but let it wash over you and just take it in. Here's a hard one. I think they're all kind of hard, actually. I feel like I'm going to say that with all of them. Eliminate self-criticism and introduce self-compassion. How many times have you you've said something shitty about yourself that you would never in a million years even say about a stranger? I threatened to punch Courtney Summers today because she was being funny, but she made a negative comment about herself. And I was like, well, now I have to punch you. Or smack you. I'm like, so I hope you're happy now. Nobody talks about my friend that way. Like if you literally walked around and had your own back, if you behind your back heard what your brain was saying to you about you, you'd be very busy arguing with people all day, right? You have got to stop with the self-criticism. When you're already down and your self-esteem is low and you start getting into that self-critical mode, like, oh, these pants look awful on me, or, oh my gosh, my hair's not doing anything right today, or, oh, I said the wrong thing, or, oh, I missed the mark on this. Oh my gosh, hello, Eeyore, and you're spiraling. Versus, okay, self-compassion. You know what? These pants may not look as good on me as I want them to, but they look better than they did 2 months ago. Yeah, I didn't work out with this customer, but you know what? I'm back in the game. I'm doing all of my 5, 4, 3, 2, 1s. I am working for this. So maybe I lost one, but I'm going to go get 5 more. I mean, if you came to me and said, I lost a customer, most of you have probably done it. I lost a customer, or somebody said no. Have I ever been like, oh my God, you're so stupid. How could you let that happen? Like, no. Okay. So one down, let's go find a new one. There's a cajillion people in this world. Why would you spend time worrying about one? But on the flip side, I've been known to spend time worried about one. I've been known to be upset about one. So in those moments, if you can just stop yourself and say, okay, if I was talking to my friend about this, what would I tell her? What would I say to these people? Right? Okay, affirm your real worth. So this is an exercise that they suggest. It's pretty good. So if you're ready, I'm gonna tell you. Make a list of qualities you have that are meaningful in a specific context. So for example, if you got rejected for a date, so in this case, if you got rejected by a customer, right? Make a list of qualities that would make you a good promoter. So instead of taking that moment of I got the no and being like, it's because I didn't know the answer to this, or I haven't been around long enough, or, whatever. We can berate ourselves all day long. But like, okay, I got the no, but you know what? I went to Thrive Palooza and I learned a lot of really good tips, or I watched this, I don't know, like there's a million things that we do right. I went to a leader retreat and I learned how to do boards, which I'm going to talk about that here in a minute. Not training by any means, but I'm going to talk about it. Like take the situation And, so negative in life is going to happen, but list the positives that make it, that are the evidence for you that it's not going to happen every single time, right? Just because one person says no, they're not all going to say no. So why would they say yes, right? So when you lose a customer, one of the other things it says, like, if you fail to get a work promotion, list all the qualities that make you a valuable employee. Then choose one item on your list and write a brief essay, which, whatever, we don't have all day, but if you wanted to, go ahead, about why the quality is valuable and likely to be appreciated by other people in the future. So this is something like they recommend you to exercise every day for a week or whenever you need a self-esteem boost. And I would say in that moment when you're spiraling and you're like, this happened and this is why, and oh my gosh, blah, 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 that's a great time to stop yourself and be like, I'm going to pull out a sheet of paper. Okay, I lost my customer, or so-and-so canceled their auto ship, or so-and-so told me that Thrive turned their eyes blue and they hate me and they're never going to go again. Okay, fine, whatever. But why would somebody love me? I have great customer service. I have an amazing testimony. I have this incredible team that backs me. Like, start writing down all the things that somebody else will be okay with and love, versus focusing on the one bad thing. So let me see. Am I doing good? Are you guys with me? Is this triggering anything for you? I know we're, like I said, kind of beating a dead horse, but it's this horse just keeps coming out of the damn grave. So we're going to beat him back down. All right. So how does low self-esteem affect us? If you have low self-esteem or confidence, you may hide yourself away from social situations. You may stop trying new things, and you may avoid things that you find challenging. How many of you have ever been asked to speak at a local and you immediately shrink because there's no way in hell you're going to stand up in front of the room? You've never done it before, so you're petrified. You would rather hide under a table than talk, right? Yeah, do I have some people nodding their heads? So in the short term, avoiding that challenge is going to make you feel safe. It's like, no, Tammy, I can't speak. My neighbor's dog's toy is in the yard and I have to go get it. I can't come to talk at your local tonight. I'm so sorry. Like, the random thing that you'll come up with. But in the long term, this is just going to reaffirm all the things that you're already telling yourself about, versus getting out there, trying something. I would much rather you try something and fall on your face and stand up and try it again than never try something new. Yeah, it says in the longer term, this can backfire because it reinforces your underlying doubts and fears and teaches you the unhelpful rule that the only way to cope is to avoid things. You guys, if avoiding a situation, show of hands, have you ever avoided a situation and it just went away? Right? So if your coping mechanism is to avoid, to cover up, to back away, to always cancel, always, all that stuff, it's not helping you any. You're just going to keep getting put in that spot, versus just diving in and dealing with it and taking on the challenge and realizing that if you are brought to a place in life, I like, for that example, if I reach out to you and say, hey, I would love for you to share your story at my local, that's not random, you guys. I'm not going through the back office going, well, here's a name of somebody I can ask. You were brought to that situation because you've done something that has stood out to bring you there. So for me specifically, if I've asked you to speak, it's because I've either heard you tell somebody or I've seen something in you. But just in life in general, if you're brought to a situation, it's because that's where you're supposed to be. And so if you keep backing away and hiding from these situations, you're going to stay stuck, and it's going to only be your fault. There's really no one else you can blame. Living with low self-esteem can also harm your mental health and lead to problems such as depression and anxiety. I feel like we all are going to experience depression and anxiety at different levels in our life more than once. And if you think that's not true, we proved it this weekend at Lindsay's retreat. We all anonymously had to fill out a questionnaire. And when it came to do you deal with depression or deal with anxiety, I want to say 90% of the room stood up. So you're never alone in that. And you're also never alone in getting out of that, because you have the ability to work with people who want to lift you up and put you in situations to help grow your self-esteem. And also, and this is obviously one too, and a lot of us have done it or might still be doing it. And if you are still doing it, I hope that you seek help. A lot of times low self-esteem will lead you to unhealthy habits, such as smoking too much or drinking too much, or harming yourself as a way to cope. So it's literally your opinion of yourself, but you can see how it just can get out of hand, right? If you can't talk to yourself the same way you would talk to someone else, you can literally bring yourself down to the point where you can physically harm yourself. All right, just a little bit more. Let me read the chat really quick. Charlene's, Charlene says, yes, it took me a year to come up with the 8 that I do now, and I do say them daily. Good. So Charlene has tweaked and worked on her I ams to get them to where they fit her. Ronnie says, I don't want to believe them. That's, I'm sure, talking about the compliments. Sandra says, we shrink back when people give us a compliment. We are our worst critic. Procrastination is a great way to avoid something. Yes. But then in the end, don't we always have to do it? We just give ourselves less time to do it. Right? I mean, I am the worst. You guys know this. I've been very open about this. I know tax time is always April 15th. I have a way of waiting till April 12th versus just, it never goes away. I can avoid it. It'll sit on my desk. I can put paint, I can cover it up, but it's always going to happen. Right? So you just have to dive in. Guess what is another great way to raise your self-esteem? All of you at the retreat will get this. Build positive relationships. If you can find people, if you find that certain people bring you down, try to spend less time with them or tell them how you feel about their words and actions. Try to build relationships with people who are positive and who appreciate you. There's a lot of us that spend time with people who do not uplift us. Maybe we work with them. Maybe we're related to them. I get that. But who do you spend time with when you have the option? Are they uplifting to you? If not, you need to rethink your circle of friends. And I know that's like a hard thing to say, but there's that whole saying, people are in your life, like each season, some are here for a reason. And, I forget how it goes. But anyway, I'm sure you've all heard that. But you may not be friends with everybody forever. And especially if you get into a relationship where it does become toxic and they are bringing you down. If you have a friend who has the worst self-esteem ever and they love you because they met you and you were on their same level and you try to start improving yourself. And how many of you went through this when you started thriving? Because your drinking buddies and your Netflix friends, all they ever did was want to hang out on Friday night and catch up on the shows and not do anything and then talk about their hangover the next day and blah, 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 blah. But then when you're like, I'm going to start thriving, I'm going to start taking care of myself and go for a walk. How many of you had friends try to tell you you're crazy, it won't work, you're wasting your money, why would you do that? Right? People don't like it when you better yourself because it's just a reminder that they're not trying to do the same. But this is your life and you only get one to live and you don't have time for people like that. So, which follows right into learn to be assertive. And you guys, I know that's a hard one for a lot of people, but learn to be assertive. Being assertive is about respecting other people's opinions and needs and expecting the same from them. I'm going to read that one more time. Being assertive is about respecting other people's opinions and needs and expecting the same from them. So if you're always picking people up, if you are like respectful of people's time, respectful of how someone feels, but they are not that way back to you, stand up for yourself. You do have a tribe here. We always try to help people, but I'm not with you guys all the time. Sarah's on it. So the guy next to Sarah on the plane last night was just trying to use her seat and his. So I actually found an empty seat and moved so she could have some space. I'm not always going to be there, right? There's going to be a day where she's going to have to say, excuse me, sir, I need you to move over. And that's an awkward, hard place. But you have to demand that other people respect you just as much as you would respect them. I can't wait to tell her that whole thing became an example on a Zoom. Be kind to yourself. It means being gentle to yourself at all times, especially when you feel like being self-critical. Think about what you would say to the friend in a similar situation. And that is just something that I just try to remember that all the time. Like there are so many thoughts that swirl through my head during the day that I would never in a million years say out loud to someone else. Never. And if I heard someone say it to someone else, I would probably like push them down, like physically remove them. So if you're catching yourself saying things, especially if you're catching them on repeat, Now is the time to stop. And I know like we're here for business, but you guys, your business can't grow if you can't grow as a person. So if you're constantly avoiding situations, you're going to avoid you're going to avoid the reach out. You're going to avoid doing the live. You're going to avoid doing the local. You're going to avoid posting a promo. You're going to avoid calling someone. So it will affect your business tremendously, but just your life in general. You only get to go around this place once that we're aware of. And I would love to see you all do it with your heads held high, proud of yourselves. We sell a health and wellness product. So a lot of people don't come in to thrive fit and healthy, right? If they were already fit and healthy, they might not be out there looking for the product. So be a product of the product. When people are like, and I have had conversations with people where they say, well, I'm not the size I want to be, and I'm not as healthy and fit as I want to be. Okay, great, good. That's what you're here for. You love it so much, you're willing to help other people feel this way, but you have to be a product of the product. So just be honest. I've been a thriver now for 6 months, and I'm not where I want to be, but I'm better than I was, and I'm on this journey, and I'm willing to share it with people. Someone's going to respect that so much more than you hiding in a closet and using pictures from 5 years ago when you felt prettier, right? Think of all the people who have low self-esteem who want to feel better, but they don't even know you're out there because you won't share it. You won't share yourself because you're afraid you're going to be judged. Well, you're going to be judged by Jesus, not the person. So, I'm going to meeting people. So keep that in mind, like be kind to yourself and be honest with who you are and work on yourself. Like it's a constant. I'm pretty sure until the day we die, we're going to be working on ourselves as humans. I don't know anybody who's ever been perfect. I don't know anybody who hasn't dealt with self-doubt or, trauma or like there's so many things that humans go through. So it's okay. Accept that. Like, again, if a friend came to you and said, oh my gosh, this is what happened to me when I was younger, and because of that, I've always thought this or felt this way. You'd be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe somebody did that to you. B, how horrible. And C, let's work through this because you're amazing. You got to start having that same conversation in the mirror, because there's actually a trend on TikTok and Instagram right now where like people will show themselves as a little kid and then like what they grew into. And they're like, my gosh, if the 13-year-old me could see me now, and they show themselves with like braces and chunky and the weird 80s clothes. And then they're like, ta-da, look at me now. Like, think about that. That little 13-year-old with the braces that was chunky, I'm sure got teased. I'm sure felt insecure, but look at them now. And then the other trend that I love is where they show a picture of themselves now. And they're like, I have to remind myself when I say I'm ugly or I say I'm dumb or I say I'm this, I'm talking to her. And they show a picture of themselves as a kid. So think about that little girl, little boy that you were. One of the things that we did at Lindsay's retreat was we had an Ed Milet podcast that we all had listened to previously, and we came into the retreat to talk about it. And one of the things, and I had forgotten about it until Amy Johnson mentioned it, was what is something that you did as a kid that you loved without even thinking? It was just like your thing, and now you don't do it at all. And maybe you're too busy. Right? Too busy to enjoy your life. Well, you want to rethink that. Or like, for example, if you used to love to go to the pool and just jump around and have the best time, and now you won't do it because you don't think you look cute in a bathing suit, how would that little girl have felt about that? See, I got goosebumps. I'm going to start talking to myself as a girl that I needed to hear those things as a child. Yes. Be the adult that you needed when you were a little kid. Be there for that little person that had all those dreams and all those goals and all that potential. And nobody was I had a great childhood, don't get me wrong, but my parents were gone all the time. They worked. Like, hello, look at me. We work. That's what we do. Right. Be the adult that you didn't have. Like talk to yourself. I would love if you all would find a picture of yourself as a little kid and put it on your mirror. And remind yourself when you're brushing your teeth, And instead of looking up and being like, oh my God, I got a gray hair. What am I gonna do about these wrinkles? My belly's hanging out. Look at that little girl. You're like, my God, you're adorable. Look what you've become. And I know that this is so easy to say and so hard to do, but it's probably one of the best things you'll ever do for yourself. And I cannot wait to see how it affects your business. Like when you start treating yourself and talking to yourself the way you should, you will approach your business completely different. Yeah. Oh my God. Yes, Olivia. Give yourself everything jumped. Give yourself a high five in the mirror. So Mel Robbins, her newest book is called I think it's just called High Five, something like that. No, what's it called, Olivia?
High Five Habit.
High Five Habit. Thank you. And it's all about giving yourself a high five in the mirror. And I loved, like, I listened to her interviews when she was going, like, doing the book tour. And because Mel Robbins has written books and she is famous and she is a thing. And during the pandemic, she was the unshaven, messed up hair, getting chunky, didn't have any desires in life. Like, she literally went back and had to pick herself up every day and started just high-fiving herself in the mirror. So she could just every day get a little better and start feeling more like herself, taking better care of herself. So don't look at somebody in life and be like, man, they're killing it. It must be so easy for them. You have no idea what they're doing in the background to get up and do what they do every single day. And it could be something as simple as giving themselves a high five in the mirror. Sure, mic drop. These are amazing things to think about. Good. I'm glad you're on here then. Or our kids, parents went and talked to their children the way, yeah, oh my gosh, yes, exactly, Courtney. You can totally flip the script on that. There are things you say to yourself that if you would, oh my gosh, you can't even fathom that you would say them to your own kid. All of you on here that are women who have ever put yourself down because of the way you look, if your little girl came up to you, there ain't no way in hell you'd say that. No way. So anyway, I'm past time. I hope this was helpful. I, again, felt like this was the common reoccurring thing that people hold themselves back because they don't have the self-esteem. And I think a lot of people are like, well, I just have low self-esteem. No, that's your opinion of yourself and you can change it. You know, like, I used to not like shrimp when I was little. My opinion changed. I love it. Sandra used to not eat guacamole. The girl that had a stuffed avocado over the weekend. You can change your mind. So it's time to change your mind about yourself, but it's going to have to be through your actions. So anyway, this is recorded. I will share it and I'll see you guys later. Bye.